Hi everyone. I want to share with you a lesson that I learned in my own life that was so powerful, but the origin of that message comes from this week's Parsha, and that is the famous story of Akeidat Yitzchak, when Abraham was told, he was directed by Hashem to take his son, the one that he loved, the one who was promised to be the future of the Jewish nation, and to bring him to the altar to sacrifice him. And that was one of the most incredibly difficult challenges that Abraham had. But how do we understand what that challenge was? Because just imagine, he went through all the steps. He took his son, he brought him up, he tied him tightly. He was prepared, he was ready, he stood there with the knife in his hand. And then Hashem came and said, just kidding, you don't have to do that. And that was it, that was the test. Now, I had a situation in my life where I live in Miami now, and before we moved here, many of you know my story. I lived in Mexico for 11 years, then we lived in San Diego for 3 years, and then we moved here 5 years ago. Now, for a number of reasons, we decided to leave San Diego, and we really wanted to move to Miami, where we saw so much potential for growth and for Torah education, and there was a specific community that we fell in love with the people there, and we wanted to be able to be their spiritual guides and leaders. And we were waiting for some details to iron out in order to know if this would be the place we would move to. But meanwhile, we had a different job offer back in Mexico. They really wanted us to come back, and there was a great offer, and they were very insistent that we come. Now the problem is, I really didn't want to go back. And by the way, no offense to all my friends in Mexico, you know I love you dearly. Just living in Mexico was very, 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 very difficult for me. And we finally left, and I couldn't imagine going back. And just the thought of it was really difficult. But they gave us an amazing offer, and we still had not ironed out those details here in Miami, and they needed an answer from us in Mexico. And we had decided, this was back in March of 2019, we decided, it was on a certain Tuesday morning, that we were going to sign the contract with Mexico if the Miami position wasn't going to work out. And the night before, it was a Monday night, and I stayed up all night crying and asking Hashem, why? I said, you finally took us out. It was so hard for me there. And I lived there for you for so many years. Why are you bringing me back there? I don't think I could reach my potential there. I don't think I can serve you in the way that you want me to serve you in Mexico. Why? Why are you bringing me back there? And the whole night I was so sad, and I just cried, and it was really, really hard for me. I wrote a poem that night. Want to hear my poem? Roses are red. I have a new home. No one to talk to, forever alone. That was my pity poem, because I knew how lonely I was going to be there. But then, by the time the morning came, I worked on it and worked on it throughout the night. I had conversations with Hashem, and I said, okay, Hashem, if this is really where you want me, I accept. I accept Belev Shalem, with a full heart, if this is really where you want me. And I was able to breathe more easily, and I was able to smile. And I came to terms with the fact that this is what Hashem wants, and this is going to be my new challenge now. That was Monday night. We were supposed to sign the contract Tuesday at about 10 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock, we get a phone call from Miami. Okay, everything is worked out. We really want you to come to be our new rabbi. And here we are in the most incredible community here in Miami. But I learned something so powerful that night. I learned that sometimes the entire challenge is all about just accepting the challenge. So often when things aren't going the way we want them to go, or the way we expect them to go, or when things are really difficult, we fight it and we fight it and we fight it and we say, no, I don't like this. This isn't comfortable. This doesn't feel good. I don't like it. I don't want it. I didn't ask for this. We say, please take this away. And sometimes all Hashem wants from us is to say, okay, Hashem, I accept Belev Shalem. And that's the entire challenge. Then Hashem says, just kidding, you didn't really have to go. That's what happened with Avram Avinu with the Akeidat. Hashem said, that's all. The challenge was for you to accept. That's what happened with me. The challenge was for me to accept. Sometimes that's the entire challenge. To stop fighting it and to sit back and say, okay, Hashem, if this is what you want from me, I accept the Lev Shalem. And hopefully, at that moment, Hashem is going to say, just kidding, you don't really have to go through it. I just wanted you to accept it. So I want to wish you all the most beautiful Shabbos, and it should be infused with the power of acceptance. Every single thing you're experiencing in your life, to be able to just sit back and say, okay, Hashem, if this is what you want, I accept the Lev Shalem. And maybe that will be the whole challenge, and maybe it won't be the whole challenge. But either way, you will be left with a feeling of acceptance, of calm, of serenity, of tranquility. Because when you stop fighting, that's when you start living in peace. Now, have in mind, this doesn't mean that you can't ask Hashem to change your circumstances. Of course we can. But our tefillah is so different when we turn to Hashem from a place of conflict and a place of anger and of desperation, rather than we turn to Hashem from a place of acceptance and from a place of peace. Love you all.